Principal officers of the People's Democratic Party, including some former and serving governors of the party, are attending this news conference in Abuja to brief on the outcomes of the series of meetings the party has been holding on the rising insecurity in the country. National Chairman of the PDP, Mr. Uche Secondus, reads out the party's 8 demands for the federal government to tackle the security challenges.
We therefore demand, number 1, for the immediate upscaling of the personnel strength of our men and women in uniform. Number 2, call for the establishment of a state police. We call for the creation of national borders protection. And this is also very important.
Nigeria's rapidly deteriorating security situation is a major source of concern for many. The governor of Taraba State says the states are helpless because they do not control any security structure.
We that are managing the states are going through horrors. We that are in the state are having it difficult to explain to our people. I have had several times people come to me and say, Governor, what are you doing? They are massacring us. I tell them that I have nothing to do because there is no security under my control. They cannot understand. They find it difficult to understand. Let us wake up and do something that is sensible and reasonable.
The PDP also expresses concern over the nation's economic situation, decrying Nigeria's rising debt profile, inflation rate, and massive unemployment. Former Senate President Bukola Saraki insists that the PDP will continue to mount pressure on the government until the tide is turned.
Pressure on government eventually yields results, but we will continue to follow that through what the Constitution means, and that is why we're here today making this press conference, and that's why we'll continue to demand that the right thing is done and play our own role.
Insecurity in Nigeria takes the forms of terrorism, banditry, kidnapping and arson, among others, and the situation has left many citizens in so much uncertainty.
Yes, indeed. Still keeping our tabs on developments playing itself out across the country. And we're going to start off from Abuja with this one. Mark.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Indeed, we have with us Senator Ben Obi, who is a member, National Executive Council of the People's Democratic Party. Senator, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. I'm
sure they're also greeting you right back. However, I mean, you have just not been sitting pretty, even though people would have been wondering, where has the opposition party been all of this while? Just yesterday, we saw an emergency meeting. What informed the emergency meeting?
Well, the opposition has been there. The opposition has been there, and we've been monitoring the activities of the APC-led government. And you know, the pandemic really came to every one of us, you know, like a bang, disrupted activities, hence we couldn't meet now and again as was proposed. But late last year, we started, of course, meeting, and for the past 2 weeks, all the organs of the party had met, from the caucus to the BOT to the National Executive Council, and we reviewed extensively the state of our nation. And it became imperative that as a party that had been in government for 16 years, vis-a-vis a party that just came into government, not familiar with how government is really run, we needed to drop, you know, partisan politics and to come and offer a helping hand a helping hand so that we can save this country together. I mean, that's what basically the assignment of a politician. You know, a politician is supposed to be a person who has come to serve the people. Now that you see that things are completely crumbling the way it is, the state of insecurity everywhere. No part of the country is excluded now. So as a national party, a party that had been in government for 16 years, that did so much, our duty therefore is to render assistance. Say, look, you know something? Put this politics aside. Otherwise, we'll probably not even be able to go into election in 2023. But let's rescue this country together. All hands on deck. That was what really informed the party in calling for a world press conference that finally took place yesterday, and all the issues were addressed, and said, look, we are here to assist. We've done it before.
It is interesting that you say that, you know, COVID had its own impact, and of course, naturally, it would have. I mean, fears around the health of members, of course, and then the lockdown, and then, of course, the financial state of the country as a result. But when you say that, you know, oh, a government that has just come into power, you have been in power, I think the emphasis is at the center. Because it's not like I said the people who are currently in government are total novices to governance and the issue of government. I mean, at the state level, at the subnational level, a lot of them have held sway. Even the president himself has once been at the helm of affairs in this country. So when you say that, oh, I mean, you're almost babying them, as it were.
Look, we have been in government. The PDP was in government for 16 years, okay? We also found ourselves in some degree of distress when we were in government, okay? And we said it yesterday. When we were in government, there was Boko Haram everywhere, okay? It was the high commissioners and ambassadors that came to me as inter-party presidential advisor on inter-party affairs to say the political parties were politicizing Boko Haram, and that was the problem. So I went to President Jonathan. I said, this is what the ambassadors are saying. And he said, look, go and discuss this with the National Security Advisor. As a result of that, the PDP organized an all-party summit on the 12th of June, 2014. It was chaired by General Abdulsalami Abubakar, who was a former head of state. I personally went to General Muhammad Buhari, as he then was, to invite him to participate. And he did. All the parties participated. President Jonathan, who was in charge, was there. And we all signed the communique that we will no longer politicize the Boko Haram. It was strictly a security matter, not for politics. So we brought what I'm saying, we brought all the political parties on board, talked to them, convinced them that we just have to work together.
By politicizing, what precisely do you mean? Do you mean not critiquing, assuming government were to particular stance or wasn't doing enough? You
know, the political parties were condemning the government at that time, saying that, look, we were not addressing the issue of Boko Haram, and that we know where some of them are. The intelligence gathering was not enough. But they said, no, these are terrorist organizations, and we must see them as that. So all the parties must be made to understand what Boko Haram stands to do in the country. And that was the essence of that summit. So by the time they understood that it is not for us as political parties to start, you know, talking or playing politics with Boko Haram, that Boko Haram was a serious matter that government needed to address, and we needed to address that with the support of our other colleagues in the other political parties. Today, we are not seeing that. You don't have that. Political parties don't even meet. Recall, in the Second Republic, it was the same thing. There was tension in the land under President Shehu Shagari. What did he do? He invited political parties, the 6 political parties, the 3 most senior members of the 6 political parties were having meetings with him every other month. And when the meetings are held, all the service chiefs, all the security agencies were put on notice. They were very much available. So if a matter concerns the army, the chief of army staff immediately, and that doused the tension. Because every political party was looking forward to the next month when they will meet with the president. And I thought that this is exactly where we'll have found ourselves today. And that is what the PDP is saying, that now we need to come together and rescue this country.
So far, I mean, this, what I say, proposition came yesterday,
right.
Proposition to shelve partisan politics. But
right.
So far, have you received any response as a political party?
Not yet, not yet, we have not. But like we said, we're going to talk to the international community. We're going to talk to our colleagues in the other parties. There is a body of political parties called the Inter-Party Advisory Council. In that Inter-Party Advisory Council, all the political parties belong. So we'll talk to their leadership. We'll talk to civil societies. We just have to put hands together and see what we can do about the state of insecurity. It's disturbing. It is worrisome.
Indeed it is. Just before now, the PDP chairman was said to have asked, we have him on tape, asking the president to declare a state of emergency on security. This proposition, is it separate to the statement of the PDP chairman asking the president to declare a state of emergency?
It is not separate. It is not separate. The statement made by the national chairman, Prince Uche Secondus, was a decision of the NEC, which is the highest organ of the party, that the president should declare a state of emergency and security. And it is still part of that we are saying we are also offering our own assistance to the government of the day. But look, let us try and work together. If they see us working together, the narratives will definitely change. That's what we're saying. If they see the political parties coming together, the narratives will change. But you see, when we had that successful outing of June 12, 2014, and we were going for elections in 2015, again, the tensions had mounted. Everybody thought that would be the end of Nigeria. One American agency had then said that Nigeria will go, split in 2015. Now, again, it was the ambassadors and high commissioners that came to say, look, that successful summit you did with the political parties, you need to call it again. I went back to the president, President Jonathan, said, this is what it is. He said, go ahead, go and meet the NSA. We did the one in 2014. Go and meet the NSA, see what you can do. Okay. That was what gave birth to what is globally referred to as the Abuja Peace Accord, where President Jonathan and Major General Muhammadu Buhari, as he then was, embraced themselves under the supervision of late Kofi Annan and Chief Emeka Anyoko. All the people we brought to participate in the January 14, 2015 party summit were all people who served either in the United Nations or in the Commonwealth. One of my speakers at that event is the current Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, from the United Nations. The other one was General Isaac Obiako, military advisor, United Nations, the first African military advisor, United Nations. And that was to buy in the understanding and support of the other political parties so that they will not see it as partisan. I, again, on that event, went personally to General Muhammad Buhari in his Aso Drive residence to say, General, you have to attend. And he attended. He attended. Look, what is lacking really with the APC-led government is that they don't have a skipper. Simple. It's to your tents, O Israel. And at times like this, it will never work. So we are now screaming and say, listen, yes, we are opposition, you are the ruling party, but you know something? If we don't work together, we will run this country into a problem that we will regret.
So what sort of solutions are you looking, I mean, where are you looking to offer your support to the government?
You have to sit down. But the idea is sit down first, look at the issues, put them on the table. Then you'll be able to offer advice. But in a case where you don't have the opportunity of even sitting down to discuss what has happened in Kaduna, how the Greenfield University was invaded and students taken away and then students being killed, what is happening? Some people have access to the terrorists, they speak with them, they discuss with them. So what has happened to our intelligence gathering? We have to ask questions to be able to have answers. So that's why we are saying, okay, look, we are ready. Let us dialogue, let us talk.
Do you think the problems are political, though?
Well,
because
it's difficult really to divorce politics from what's happening. It is very difficult.
Well, now that you have said that, but a lot of people will say that the scenarios that you have painted were largely political. So, for instance, the Boko Haram problem was being politicized. You spoke to the political parties. Yes. There was tension in the land ahead of the 2015 elections, which was because of all the angling around the issues that were going to come up and determine the polls in 2015. Yeah. You spoke to the political parties and the political actors again.
Correct.
However, the problems facing us right now are heavily on security and are largely existential. That's what we have been told.
Yes.
How do you think that the political parties will be able to help?
Well, you need information. You need information and you need the support of the people. I don't think they are getting the information that is required. And I don't think they are getting the cooperation of the people. You see, when the people don't give you information, these people don't just come from the moon. They don't drop from the moon. They are still within places, within areas that they do the kidnapping. They give them ransom. So they are within the society. Therefore, you need the cooperation of everybody. Now, when I talk of political parties, it is because they are the actors. They have people, they have membership, and then through that, you can also talk with the local communities and the traditional rulers. We did all of that. We did all of that. So something is just not gelling in the government of today. You see, you cannot be an island. When things get to this level, then honestly, there is an urgent need to discuss with your colleagues. To say, even if it is political, why is it political? Why are they doing what they're doing? What's the problem? And children, I mean, when it gets to a state where children now in school, parents are worried, what do we do? Now, the governor of Niger State said they are just 2 hours away from Abuja. Kidnappings have increased in Abuja. The governor of Nasarawa saying the same thing. I heard a commissioner was abducted in Kogi. So, Kogi in trouble, Nasarawa in trouble, Niger in trouble, and you have Abuja at the same time. I think this is why the PDP decided to say, you know something, drop this partisanship. Let us offer hands of friendship. Let us rescue the country. That is all we're saying. In rescuing the country, you have to go, all the segments of the country today needs to be addressed. So you need people who will be able to say, all right, we have had you. Now, come, let us talk.
Let's flip this to Lagos now, and let me see. I'm sure my colleagues have questions for you.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. Senator, a number of things that you have said are quite interesting, but one of them that sticks out, so many do, but one of them that sticks out is when you say that the ruling party needs a skipper. I'm wondering what that means in the context, and what would you propose as an alternative? Because you very well know, so many people have said over and over again, we all need to come together. In coming together, exactly what does that mean? Because the National Assembly is together. You just talked about an inter-party advisory council. They're already together. So what have we been missing, and what are we missing?
Well, thank you very much. What you are missing is somebody to coordinate these old bodies that are there from the government. And that person must have the buy-in of Mr. President. That person must be able to convince the president why the ruling party should lead the debate with political parties. It is when that is done, you can now approach the traditional institution, religious institution. Therefore, all hands will have been brought to the table. And that's what is not happening. So that skipper is somebody who, from the APC angle, will be able to speak to Mr. President, will be able to say to Mr. President, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do. You have the IPAC there, you have the political parties on the IPAC, you have key stakeholders like the civil societies. You bring all of them together.
But when you say...
All the events I mentioned here, June 12th, January 14th, 2015, June 12th, 2014, all the ambassadors and high commissioners were in attendance.
Well, Senator, when you say that, we need this kind of intervention, just as you have mentioned, of course it does make a lot of sense to so many people. But then, just as you very well know, we have a National Assembly. The proposition you're making sounds like we're looking for a political solution. Are we out of options other than that? In the light of the fact that so many people have spoken at very high levels of governments across the federal and state governments, that some of these issues are politically motivated. Do you think this political intervention you are proposing will be significantly impactful?
Well, when we did the All-Party Summit in 2014, June 12, we had the National Assembly. They were part of it. When we did the Abuja Peace Accord on the 14th of January 2015, we had the National Assembly. They were part of it. What I'm saying is that you have to have the buy-in of government in putting this thing in place. And when you have the buy-in of government, then you have the solution is almost 60-65% there. You bring in the international community, then you will start to have information. Intelligence gathering will start to come to you. And that's what we did. Look, don't forget, again, it was after the Abuja Peace Accord. The late Ban Ki-moon sent Ambassador Ibn Chambers, who was his envoy in West Africa, to come to Abuja here, to come and congratulate me and ask me to set up the National Peace Committee. Again, it was President Jonathan who said, go ahead and do that. That is how I got in touch with Bishop Hassan Kuka. And we went to John Cardinal Onayeko. That was how that body was set up, and made General Abdulsalam Abubakar the chairman, made Ebitu Kiwe the deputy chairman, with 23 eminent Nigerians. And we were interfacing with both the General Buhari and President Jonathan. Until President Buhari took over, we continued. And so after we left government, I quietly stepped aside. So you must interface. We are in a democracy. That's the first thing to understand. We are in a democracy. And the democracy is being run by persons in political parties. So you need them, you need them, you need them, you need them.
Well, Senator, does the PDP really think that the APC will sit down with them and sort some of these things out? Because you have people who will seek some political gain or capital out of this, thinking that this will make the APC weaker if they were to at least take a look at some of the options or consider the option that the PDP is presenting. Wouldn't that be some sort of obstacle in the way, knowing how politics is played here?
Well, we didn't see that as an obstacle in 2014, neither did we see that as an obstacle in 2015, and it worked. So I don't know why they will think it's going to be an obstacle for them. I doubt, but they need to think about it. They need to say, look, it is not a great gift. We just have to sit down together. Set up a committee. Set up a committee. Meet with the political parties so that you can hear them. I mean, when you judge, you get better results. At times like this, you cannot just be an island. You can't.
All right, there are just a couple of more issues, but just give us a moment. We'll be back.
The constant touch with troops and their commanders in the field is of essence for every military operation, especially in a counterinsurgency environment. The essence is to reassure the troops, get to hear from them if they do have issues they want us to discuss. It could border on logistics, it could border on deployment, and then reassure them that Mr. President is aware, Commander-in-Chief is aware of all they are doing here, and he will do his best to provide the needed resources to execute this war to a logical conclusion. This indeed is not just this theater, any other theater that the Nigerian army is operating in. We have defeated Boko Haram severally. If for one time they came and we lose certain equipments, even though we were never defeated, I can assure you that we'll overcome, notwithstanding whatever had happened. We will take on Boko Haram decisively, and we are committed to the focus of the entire operation, which is the total annihilation of Boko Haram from Nigeria.
Welcome back. Well, Senator, in addition to those suggestions, in fact, when the state police option came across, it's a conversation that has been on for a while in this country, and lawyers, they've spoken severally about that. Is it that it is the president's call to do that and not that of the National Assembly, because it's got to do with our laws, the Constitution, actually?
Well, if you listened to the national chairman of the PDP, Prince Uche Secondus, in his statement yesterday, he did call on the governors, the leadership of the National Assembly, the speaker of the state houses of the speakers of the state houses of assembly, to come together and address the issue of the state police. So we're not saying you have to ignore anybody. All the important organs that are responsible for creating the state police must come together in a summit and agree to creating a state police. So it's very clearly put out there.
Is the recommendation about funding the Border Patrol Squad?
Sorry?
What's the recommendation regarding funding the Border Patrol Squad that was suggested by the party?
Well, we said our borders are very porous, so we need to create a border protection agency. Now, to do that, of course, it has to go through the National Assembly. It has to go through the process of enacting put an act to create such an agency. So once they do that, of course, they will also create the funding for it. But it is clear to us, very, very clear, that our borders are quite porous. And even one of the leaders of the PDP, the former national acting national chairman, before he crossed over to the APC, did say sometime that they imported people from neighboring countries for the elections in 2015. He was also a leader of the APC that has now come back again to the PDP. He said they imported people, and nobody has challenged them up to today.
But Senator,
so these are the things. This is why you will know.
That's curious, knowing that we already have an agency that is whose charge that is supposed to be to ensure that such things do not happen. We have, of course, the Immigration Service, we have the Customs Service. So for such a thing to happen under their watch, and nothing is done about that one, it is curious. You may want to add to that how the functions of the border protection squad that your party is suggesting, how their function will will line up with the functions of the established immigration service that we already have and the customs service as well.
Well, it's going to be a synergy. But see, for now, what you have to boost what you have until you create the Border Protection Agency, which will be a creation of the Parliament. But for now, what you have, you just have to understand that something is not gelling there, something is wrong within the borders. That people just walk in and out of our country, which is what Alhaji Baraje said. But look, all I have been trying to make you understand by the outcome of our World Press conference yesterday is that what we are all doing is to your tents, O Israel. And that is just not helpful to this country. It is not helpful. Politicians have disappointed the peoples of this country. It is time that we come together as responsible people, drop our partisanship, come together as responsible people, and address the issues facing us in this country. Now, one thing I didn't say was that every summit that took place in 2014 and 2015 was in collaboration with the Office of the National Security Advisor. So at all times, you had the echelon of the security involved, hand in gloves with the political parties. So it was always easy to sort things out.
Senator, one other thing that may also be in consideration here is the plethora of, well, a good number of people that have said over and over again, including government officials, that's a sizable quantum of the responsibility on our hands now in terms of insecurity is due to economic inequality, unemployment, poverty, and the rest of that. And one wonders how all of these can be addressed within the shortest possible time to address the challenge of the insecurity that we're having on our hands. Because it's one hand to have all of this talk shop, it's another hand altogether to take the issues down to the people exactly where they are.
Look, it was also addressed in the press statement yesterday that all of this state of insecurity is also being built up by the unemployment of hundreds and thousands of our youths who are there doing nothing, just being taken over by bandits, putting them in their team and then creating all of this havoc here, there, and yonder, because they are jobless. Somebody is prepared to go for a suicide mission with 5,000 naira or even 3,000 naira because he has nothing to do. And what does he lose? Nothing. So the important thing, the stage is that the real problem is that we are not talking. We are not talking. Our people are dying. Our people are being kidnapped. Our women are raped. We are not talking.
Senator, you know, some people might say that, okay, it's possible that the APC has not been speaking, or the government at the center has not been speaking with the with the political parties, with the PDP, as it were, even more particularly. However, there's been conversation. There's conversation at the National Economic Council, which is peopled by the federal government and the 36 governors from the different states, in addition to other actors, and that if there have been problems in states, in whatever states that those problems have happened, regardless of whether they be APC or PDP or any other political parties, we've seen the governors from those states take their problems to the villa. There have been national security meetings being held. You know, there has been enough room for jaw. Why do you think that they haven't yielded much fruit?
How many political parties are amongst the governors you just mentioned that are attending the Economic Council? Who are the people attending the Security Council meetings? If you may tell me. Okay. You should know.
You think that it's about the number of political parties?
I'm saying that you need all hands on deck. That governors come to National Economic Council meeting with the Vice President and go, that's not the issue. That's not the issue. The issue is that you need the buy. Look, before INEC, all political parties are equal. As long as you're a registered political party, your ADC, you're the same level with APC, PDP before INEC. So, when you're doing anything, as long as they are registered political parties, their opinion also matter. And that's what I've been saying. So, how many political parties have governors?
So yes, indeed. You know, I'm not trying to say that the opinion of other political parties do not matter. However, has there been any solution that has been brought forward that you do not agree with, or are there things or matters that have come to the fore?
Have they brought any solutions to us, to the public, about what they need the public to buy into? So
isn't that what the PDP should be questioning?
That's why we're calling for a summit. That's why so that everybody will sit down together on the round table and agree on these issues. All of us will sit down, look at them, and say, look, you know something? This is wrong. You tell them to their faces. And that may change the narrative.
Is there a precedence for this anywhere?
Sorry?
Is there a precedence for what the PDP is suggesting?
I just ruled them out now.
Where? No. This is different. I mean, where the government of the day calls on political parties, that's different. But where an opposition party comes out to say, hey, look, we're shoving partisan politics, we're up for talks. Is there a precedence for that anywhere?
It is for the government of the day to say, yes, we agree. Look, when we had the working committee, the caretaker committee of the PDP, under the chairmanship of His Excellency Senator McAfee, and I was the National Secretary. President Buhari was away in London for treatment. The PDP had it as a matter of policy for every public engagement to pray for the quick recovery of Mr. President. And when he finally got back, Senator McAfee said, I should speak to the Chief of Staff. Since we've been praying for him to get well quick, and he's back and in the country, that I should speak to the Chief of Staff so that we'll come and say to him, Mr. President, you're welcome. Thank God you're fine now. Please face the duty of which Nigerians elected you. Run the country. I called late Abakari. And he came back to me in 1 hour and said, the President will be seeing the PDP tomorrow, 1 p.m. By 11:15 p.m., Malam Abakari called me back and said, look, sir, I hope you don't mind. Can we include the APC? I said to him, the more the merrier. That visit took place, the APC was there and the PDP. It wasn't an APC idea. It was our own idea. And we did that believing that that would be the opportunity for which the president will now use in meeting once in a while with political parties. The kind of thing which I said to you President Shehu Shagari did in the Second Republic.
But that hasn't happened.
Well,
Senator, what would you say to those who say this is just because? I mean, I have had cause to interrogate why it would seem that the PDP has been a bit cold in opposition. And some people say, I mean, one of your members says it's because it's in your DNA that you do not exactly know how to be an opposition party. You were formed and you came into government, and that's how you know how to be in government. You think that this is also because you're at sea on how to play this opposition politics?
you see, the PDP has been speaking, but the truth of the matter is now that we see things are going terribly bad, we have to wake up and wake up more seriously to the responsibilities of being a leader of the opposition. And we spoke to ourselves. After we spoke to ourselves frankly, understanding that yes, we have been in opposition, we have been playing the role, but we have not done much that is expected of us. And yet we know what we can do. We know that the PDP is the largest political party in Africa. It is still the largest. There's nowhere you go to in this country, nowhere, that you will not find the PDP. It's not the same thing with the APC. So now, if we do not do what we are doing now, to tackle the issues on ground now, between now and the next 1 year, we'll have problems in going to elections in 2023. And I pray we don't have that. I pray we don't run into that kind of crisis.
It's not because you're at sea on how to play the opposition politics.
Sorry?
It's not because you're lost on how to play the opposition politics.
No. You see, that is why we are bringing in our mature experience. That is what we are bringing to the table. You know, we don't want to say, oh, we are better than you, we are bigger than you. No. Let's drop that. Let's look eyeball to eyeball, look and ask ourselves, what are we not doing right? How did we get to this stage? All right, we're all Nigerians, first and foremost.
Well, Senator, we'll see how that proposition is received by the APC, if there'll be a response from the federal government, because your proposition is to the APC-led federal government. We do not know if they as a political party will respond, or the government itself will respond. And we'll also see how individual members of the APC will also take it. But we have to thank you for sharing your thoughts and sharing more light on the World Press Conference which you held yesterday.
Thank you very much.
Senator Ben Obi is a member of the National Executive Council of the People's Democratic Party. Sunrise Daily will take a moment and we'll be back with another guest. Please stay with us.